Hi, I'm Jay, the Client Success Manager here at Root. And if you reach out to us, I'll likely be the first person you talk to. Welcome to Advisor Unplugged, where you get a behind the scenes peek at the real humans behind the planning. Today, we are hanging out with Caleb Varing. Let's be honest, the big reason people choose an advisor is trust. So we're doing these chats to help you get to know our team before you ever hop on a call. So let's dive in. Caleb, welcome to the show, my friend. How are you?
I'm doing good. How are you doing today, Jay?
I'm incredible. And we are going to start out with that fun fact. And Caleb has to talk about this a lot in the office because I've blown this whole thing up. Me and Caleb met last year in Denver, and it was quickly found that he is a world-renowned GeoGuessr. I had no idea what that was. And then I saw him do it, and it's basically part magic, part voodoo, part superpower. I don't get it. I think he uses 100% of his brain. Caleb, let's get right into it. Can you tell people what is geoguessing, how you got into it, and how you're so good at it?
Yeah, so it's basically a video game, right? For lack of a better word, where you get Google Maps and you get plopped into somewhere randomly on the world. There's a lot of different ways you can play the game, but that's the basics of it. So you get placed in a random place, and then you can basically look around in that place, or there's settings where you don't get to look around at all. And you have to guess as closely as you can to where in the world you are. So there's a bunch of different ways that you can kind of figure out how exactly you where you're at. So using how the streets are painted, what the foliage is like. If you know what language, being able to recognize language, being able to tell Czech versus Polish versus French, all of those things are really helpful to
Yeah.
kind of narrow down where you might be, and then you kind of just take a guess to where you're at.
I think what freaked me out the most is when you saw the local flowers and you were guessing from that. I was like, that and like curbs. You were looking at curbs and how they were built and how they were painted. I it's incredible. It's incredible. And you just have to see him do it in person because he's very accurate and yeah, like it wows everybody. So that's like the coolest bar trick I've ever heard in my life. Okay. So Caleb, you are from Kansas, right?
Yep.
You grew up in Kansas City.
Mhm.
Then you go to Kansas State.
Yes.
Okay. So how did that work? Were you saying did you have dreams to go there, or was it a different path there?
Yeah, I'd always known that I'd wanted to go to K-State. I
Yeah.
grew up. My dad went to K-State. I grew up going to K-State football games. I apparently was at some of the games when K-State was really good in the early 2000s. I don't
Yeah.
remember being there, but apparently I I was there. So I'd always kind of known that I wanted to go to K-State and be a Wildcat. Didn't
Yes.
quite know when I went up to college exactly what that was going to look like, but I did know that I wanted to go to K-State.
So was it's like your parents, your dad's an alumni,
Mhm.
you have these dreams of going, and then did the reality meet the expectation?
Yeah, I think it did meet the expectation. Going to college was a lot of fun. It was kind of the first time I felt like I got to be on my own, doing my own thing, and kind of got to
Yeah.
drive my own boat, so to speak.
Yeah.
Um, it definitely was one of those things where what you got out of it, what you put into it. I was in a fraternity at K State. I was a Theta Xi, which is a pretty small fraternity, but I loved being in the fraternity. I loved kind of the camaraderie and getting to spend a lot of time with my friends. Living communally was something that was fun when I did it, but I would absolutely never do it again.
I know exactly. Well, it's just like I'm so fascinated with it because I didn't go to a school that had, let's just say, that level of camaraderie, in the sense like we weren't big sports school. You don't have hundreds of thousands of people cheering for this team. Like you guys have sports, right? And so that creates a whole community within itself and creates camaraderie. And so you have pride for the school. So I didn't really get to experience that. So I'm so fascinated by that. Like it sounds like such a cool time.
Yeah, it's really fun. It's especially because Kansas State is in Manhattan, Kansas, which is this tiny little town,
Oh,
genuinely in the middle of nowhere in Kansas.
okay.
There's about 40,000 people that live there. About half of them are college students. So the whole city just revolves around the
Yes.
university. It revolves around the sports. So like when K-State plays a football game, like the entire town functionally shuts down to facilitate the game happening. People come in from out of town. It's a ton of fun. The energy is just like unmatched. Like I've been to sports games in like big cities and those are fun, but like when the whole city is there just to watch a game, it's next level. It's so much fun.
For sure. Okay, so was it, we're here now at Root. You are a advisor. Where did that journey start? Did it start in college or did you not?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
honestly think it started in high school. So I didn't know that this is what I wanted to do, but I think everything I did ultimately kind of led me to where I'm at now. So in high school, I was big into doing debate and competitive speech. I think if had I not done that, I probably wouldn't have like the confidence that I have talking to people, communicating. It gave me like such a wide skill set, and I tell people like, hey, if you have a kid who's in high school, you should encourage them to do at least a semester of debate or competitive speech because
Yeah.
it's scary and hard, but like it made me so much like it gave me so much skill and the ability to like communicate with people and talk to people and think critically about things that I kind of attribute it to a lot of like my success to this day, kind of that starting point. Then when I went to college, because I did debate and debate was about like arguing about basically government policy, I thought I wanted to be a lawyer. And
Yep.
then I found out what being a lawyer would actually look like. And I was like, maybe not. No disrespect to any lawyers or anything. Actually, all the respect in the world. It just
For
like,
sure.
it wasn't my thing.
Yeah.
Um, I pivoted after that. I thought I wanted to teach. And I went through the rest of school, getting my education degree. I thought like learning about education, learning about learning and teaching is really fascinating. I still find it to be extremely interesting to this day. But when it came to actually managing a classroom, when I was student teaching, I had a classroom of eighth graders, and loved them to death. But it wasn't necessarily for me. But what I really loved about it was that every now and then I would get to take an individual student or a couple of students out and get to like work with them one on one, and that was what really gave me a lot of joy with what I was doing. So when I was trying to figure out, okay, I don't want to teach, what I want to do now, I know I want to work individually with people. I want to work one on one with people. I want to talk to people. I want to help teach them about something specific. People kept kind of like telling me, hey, you should look into being an advisor because you have an opportunity to teach them about money, teach them about their finances, help them very directly, and kind of get to use some of those skills as a teacher, but in a much more precise, individualized way, which is what I really enjoyed about teaching.
That's cool. Okay. So I am so fascinated with people that teach middle school, junior high, that sixth, seventh, and eighth grade, because you're thinking, what an emotional war zone that is for kids. They're going like puberty starting. They're happy, they're sad, they're mad, they're like it's just they're going through it in those years. And I remember it. And I remember being in that phase of life going, I don't know how anybody teaches us little pricks. Like it's so hard because we're just, we're going through it. So do you think that any part of like your, your disconnection of teaching was because of the age group? Or was it just like, this is a lot dealing with, such a big group of people and I want to be more individualized?
Believe it or not, like middle school was kind of the it was either I wanted to be a middle school social studies teacher or I wanted to do high school economics was
Yeah.
what I wanted to do. I really love it. I still love working with middle schoolers. I think that like how like messy and complicated and emotional they are, they're a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Their lack of a filter is awesome. I love watching them like interact with each other. I love watching them like develop because like it is a messy and difficult time for them, but at the same time, they're like you get to watch these kids grow so much, right? In the span of months, like just become like completely different people. My wife actually still teaches at the middle level, and
Yeah.
she'll say that the difference, like when she comes like from September to May, like she's teaching like different kids, and like I still to this day love working with kids that age group More so than anything, it for me, the difficult part was having to deal with 30 of them all at
Yeah.
once. If it
Yep.
was a group of like 2 or 3 that I got to work with, maybe that would have been a different story, but it was just that like having to manage all of those things at once when it was like I could see very clearly like, hey, maybe I've got this one kid, I know exactly what I need to do, but I just don't have the time or energy or resources to give them precisely what they needed. And
Yep.
that's really what kind of drove me away from the profession.
Yeah. Okay. So you get some good, helpful advice to potentially become an advisor. Then what are the next steps for you?
So for me, um, when I was student teaching, I didn't finish my student teaching semester. I then had to go back. I had to do one more semester. I have an educational studies degree, so it's a non-licensed degree
Yeah.
technically. So even if I wanted to go teach, I couldn't. I would have to go back and get like a master's degree in teaching. I don't want to go back to teaching, but like
Okay.
I couldn't even if I wanted to.
Right.
I started out. I interned at a local firm here in Kansas City. Um, got my feet wet, got to sit in on a few meetings. Mostly was just kind of like scanning stuff,
Yeah.
cleaning stuff up around the office, being a little bit of a water boy, you know, doing the kind of things that you need to do to kind of get your feet wet. I
Yep.
found that I really, really loved that. My next step after that, I worked with a firm called Virtual Outsource Solutions.
Mhm.
What I did there is I was a client service associate. So if you come and become a client at Root, you'll work with one of our wonderful client service associates.
Yep.
I did that, but I worked specifically with a variety of different advisors. So I was a contractor. So the cool thing about that job was that I got to see a lot of different firms and how a lot of different firms operated and kind of got to pick like, hey, where do I want to work? What do I want to do? I got to kind of almost work like 5 jobs at once and see what does working at a big firm look like? What does working at a small firm look like? What does it look like if you basically had your own RIA? Things like that.
Yeah.
After that, I went and I worked still as a contractor. I split my time between 2 guys who had small RIAs based out of Arizona. There,
Hmm.
I was an associate, helped out with meeting prep, helped out with meeting follow up, sat in meetings and kind of took notes, things like
Yeah.
that. Continued to just kind of build my skills. At the same point, I was studying for the CFP. I passed the CFP exam, was working on completing my kind of like experience. And then that was when I landed at Root. So I worked there for about a year. Then I came here to Root, and I've really kind of been refining my skills ever since then.
Okay. How did you find Root? That's the big question.
So I'm one of the few people who, when I first applied for Root, I wasn't super familiar with like Root's media. I feel like a lot of people who come here are like, oh yeah, I've been following James and Ari for like a few
Yeah.
years.
Yeah.
I actually literally just saw like a job posting on LinkedIn, and when I dug in further, I was like, oh, this is so cool. Like I love what
Really?
they're doing. This is exactly what I want. I remember I so when I filled out my application, there was like like this is the point when there were like 2 or 3 kind of like mini essay based questions that you would
Yep.
fill out to apply. I think I spent like 4 or 5 hours working on mine. I think I spent like an hour recording my loom that I sent to Root because
Yes.
I remember telling my wife like I can't mess this up. Like this is genuinely my dream job. This is the exact place I want to work. This is where I would want to spend the rest of my career. I have to get this right. So I was super stoked when I got that
Yeah.
message back, and then had to go and binge a lot of content to make sure that I got the words right during the interviews.
Caleb, what resonated when you were digging in to the application and you were obviously on the website? What popped out? You're like, this is it. This is the company.
To me, it felt like this was a place that really, really deeply cared about both its clients and the people that worked there. From
Hmm.
everything I saw online, it was like, oh, these people really are genuinely care about seeing their clients and the people work there be as successful as they possibly can be. And like the proof was in the pudding, right? Like everything that the job had to offer, everything in terms of like the kind of clients that I saw that were working at Root, especially as I went through the interview process and talking about the kind of clients that come to Root,
Yeah.
what we did for clients or I knew that Root did for clients. It was like, man, Root is just like a step above the rest. Like I don't think any other firm is doing exactly what Root is doing, and just the level of care that Root has for again, both its clients and its employees is just it was next level to me.
Right.
It really resonated with me.
All right. So now that you've been here for a while, how's the experience been? What's it been like for you through this journey?
I still kind of have to pinch myself sometimes that I work here. I've been working here. It'll be a year in a month from now,
Yeah.
and like I sometimes I have to remind myself to work a little bit less because I love what I do so much that I have to remind myself, hey, I need to take a break so that I can continue delivering the quality of work that like
Exactly.
not only Root is expecting of me, but I'm expecting of myself. Which I
Right.
think is an incredible testament that like Friday will come around and I'll be like, oh, it's Friday. Like I have to take a break tomorrow. I don't want to take a break tomorrow. I want to like continue talking to my clients. I want to keep talking to my colleagues here at Root. Like I want to keep doing this work because it feels so rewarding and refreshing to do what I do every day.
Yeah. That's awesome, my friend. Okay. So how would you describe your approach when working with clients?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So I think my approach is pretty driven from the framework of thinking of like, how do you make the most out of life with your money? What does your life look like? What are your
Yeah.
goals? How do you think about those things? I'm very much kind of like an emotionally driven advisor. Like, I want
Mhm.
to know you as an individual because I think if we can talk about numbers all day
Yeah.
long, and I love talking about numbers. Do not get me wrong. I will dive deep into the numbers. I've got that little bit of an engineer brain in the back of my head that loves to do that. But like, if I don't know who you are as a person, I don't know how I can give the best possible advice because I need to know what makes you tick to be
Yeah.
able to kind of help look past those numbers and decide, hey, maybe the software is telling us something, or maybe the numbers tell us something, but maybe in your case, that's not what makes the most sense, right? Like, if you're someone who, let's say you've always wanted to have a big boat.
Yeah.
No advisor, a traditional advisor, I'm going to say, is going to say, hey, you should, you like, they're not going to say go buy a boat. But if that's your thing, and if I know that that's your thing, and I know you love being on a boat, then we're going to figure out how to buy that boat. Similar to that, I take a really educational approach to my work as well. I want to make sure that my clients know at a very deep level what's happening. I want to make sure that you understand what's happening because, like, I'm not always going to be able to be there to help you answer every single question. So I want you to be empowered by knowledge to continue making good decisions, even if I'm not immediately there to help you make that decision. Right.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
want to get your spouse involved. If maybe your spouse isn't the most involved in the finances, I want to help them understand and be empowered by what's going on. I want you to feel empowered by what's going on. I want I want you to understand at a deep level what's happening with your finances and the whys of things because I think that's so powerful for people to make the kind of decisions that they need to make to really make the most out of life with their money.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, Caleb. I think that's a really powerful statement you know, about making sure both, especially if you're working with a couple, that both spouses are involved. They feel involved. They feel they understand know what's going on. There's an educational process. I've had people that said a couple things. My spouse is worried about getting involved because she feels like it's going to go over her head, or he doesn't like finances, so he's just going to stay out. And I say it's not joking. I mean, we say, look, we have a prerequisite that both spouses have to be involved, and I say, look, you both don't have to be the captains of the ship, but you both need to be on the ship because this is not just talking about investments. This is your life, right?
Mhm.
And so I love that. And I've also had like cliche things of incidents of where people like, we tried to work with an advisor, but they wouldn't look at my spouse. They just spoke directly to me, basically the captain of the ship, right? They said, okay, that spouse is the captain, so I'm just going to talk to that spouse. And I was like, man, what a like what a terrible experience. And so I love hearing that from our advisors, just like you, who are like, look, I want to get both of them involved and I want to create that educational process. And with your education background, what a perfect match. Okay, kind of bleeding from that question, what should clients expect when working with you?
That's a good question. I think that what they should expect when working with me is to be ready to talk about yourself more than you would expect
Yep.
to with a normal advisor. I feel like that is a little bit true of a lot of people here at Root, but I do like I want to talk about you. I want to know about you. So coming from that framework of like thinking of like what are some things that like I could share to really help Caleb understand what's going on with me. And like I have a lot of questions that I'll ask to help people kind of get to those points. And I want it to really feel like a conversation. I'm not just gonna like berate you with questions or anything like that. But knowing that it's gonna be a little bit more conversational.
Yeah.
And also as well, I try to make sure that like what's important to you is being addressed, right? So I like to start out a lot of my meetings by saying, what's something that's on your mind that you want to talk about today or something
Yeah.
to that effect? What questions do you have before we get started? What do you want to make sure that we cover today? And like sometimes, let's say it's the investment meeting and let's say there's a bunch of questions that you have left outstanding from the income meeting. Okay, then we're just going to talk about that today, right? We can have another investment follow up later if we need to, but I want to make sure that like we're addressing what it is important to that's important to you. So either you can really drive the boat, if we're sticking with the captain analogy, or I can drive the boat and kind of
Yeah.
walk you through that process if you want to. But I'm going to give you that opportunity to really make the process yours as much as you want to.
Beautiful. Love that. Okay. All right. So let's do a little behind the scenes.
Okay.
So what's Caleb doing? Okay, when you're not financially planning, and I know right now you and Hannah, no kids, so you guys are free as birds. But I know you love working. But what do you do outside of work, like besides geoguessing?
Besides geoguessing, Um, a lot of it lately has been kind of spending a lot of time with like my friends and my family. So we spent a couple of years living in Bentonville, Arkansas, for a while. Just wanted to give it a try. Didn't end up working out for us. I loved it down there, but we missed our friends and our family. So I spent a lot of time going out, getting drinks with friends, playing board games, just generally spending time with them and doing things with them. I'm like a perpetual, I call myself a serial hobbyist. I've
Yeah.
always got something new that's going on. As of late, I've been trying to get into tennis because the place we just moved has like a bunch of tennis courts nearby. So I've been taking some like tennis classes, playing a little bit. I'm not any good, but I'm having a lot of
I would
fun.
watch.
Um, I love to cook. That's a pretty
Okay.
consistent thing that I've always really enjoyed. I really like experimenting with cooking, trying new things, trying new recipes. I have a lot of fun doing
Like,
that. And then
is it cooking? Like is that encompass everything like baking and specific niches, or is it just like I like to cook meals?
I mostly like to cook meals. I would say I don't do a whole lot of baking, to be totally honest. I feel
Right.
like baking is a lot more science rather than art. I feel like cooking is there's a little bit of like artistry to the
Yeah.
act of actually cooking. So that's why I like it. I think it's almost like kind of a creative outlet for me
Yeah.
to be able to cook in the evening. I think of it as like a decompression time, right? Like I'll put some headphones in, I'll turn a podcast on, I'll cook for like an hour, hour and a half. Like my my wife will joke that like I'll say like, "Oh, I'm just gonna throw something together real quick, and it'll take me like 45 minutes to cook it." And she'll say like, "For me, throwing something together is like heating up some Prego on the stove and boiling some pasta noodles and calling it a day." Whereas I'm like, "No, I'm gonna make this like it's a simple sauce, but I'm gonna make it from scratch." But
That's
I just
correct.
like I love doing that. It's a lot of fun. It's like it's relaxing for me. It's like a way I kind of bookend my day.
I wish I could. I can't dig in. And maybe it's just because the life phase we're in with kids. So it's like, I coach my kids' soccer team. We come home at, 7 o'clock, and then there's like, yeah, there's no time.
Yeah.
So it's like boom, boom, boom. So it's like life is fast paced. So I can't even think about like, okay, I'm going to cook for an hour and a half. The other issue for me specifically is when you have kids and their eating habits change. Like 1 minute they're into this, then they're out. And then, so you're literally, it feels like you're cooking for four different people at this
Mm.
phase. And you're like, forget it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, a lot of the time that ends up being what it is for me too, just because like I know what I'm good at and like
Yeah.
I'll finish up with work at 5:30, 6 o'clock, and like I do just need to kind of put something together, maybe where it's gonna take me
Yeah.
like an hour to cook, but like I know how long it's gonna take, I know what ingredients I'm gonna use. I can kind of go on autopilot a little bit. So like maybe on
Okay.
like a Saturday or Sunday, I'll try like a new recipe, like something fun or something interesting.
Yeah.
But a lot of the time it is just that, yeah, like here's like my staple meal is I'll make pork chops, roast potatoes, and then some sort of like some roast vegetable with it, which is like it's not very difficult to put together, but
Yeah.
I know it works and it's pretty straightforward, pretty
Are you
simple.
watching any of the cooking shows like Chef's Table?
I will every now and then.
Yeah.
I think some of them are pretty interesting, but honestly, like I don't watch a lot of cooking. It's funny because I feel like most people who watch cooking shows don't like to cook. And I feel like most people who like to cook really don't watch a whole lot of cooking shows.
Well, it's funny because I notice like I'm a serial hobbyist too. Like I get maybe it's the ADHD in me where I'm like, when I get onto something, I go full tilt. I want to do it competitively. That's all I do. And then it's funny. That's how my wife knows it because that's what I'll start watching. That's how it's always been. Like sports has always been a thing with me. So it's like, okay, right now, all right, I've been, I'm playing competitive golf. I'm doing this. So I'm watching a lot of golf, watching a lot of soccer. Okay, now I just picked up tennis again. So now all of a sudden I'm watching tennis. Right? And so my viewing habits go with the hobby that I'm into. So you're a hardcore biker, aren't you? Like you mountain bike and you race?
Yeah. I've kind of fallen out of it a little bit lately because of tennis, but I have done a number of races. Like my big thing when I was living in Bentonville, I did a lot of mountain biking. I liked mountain biking. I didn't love it, but what I really liked was it's road bike racing, but it's on gravel roads. So
Okay.
like because I'm in Kansas, and I'm sure a few people will recognize this, like Kansas is like the epicenter of like gravel road racing because like 80% of the
Wow.
roads here are dirt. I live further in
Okay.
the city, so I have to like drive a little bit of a ways out to go ride on dirt
Yeah.
roads. But all of the races will happen on dirt roads. It's a lot safer to ride out there because there's just not as many cars. They don't drive quite as fast, so it's a little bit nicer to ride out there. But I have done a few big races. The longest one I ever did was 150 miles, and that took me 11 and a half hours.
That's too long, Caleb. Oh my God, dude. That's wild.
Yeah,
Were you ever the guy that I could see you doing this because you're athletic and you're into that stuff? Have you ever thought about doing Ironmans?
it's definitely on my potential bucket list. I was sitting out, my wife and I went to the pool the other day, and she asked me a great question. She said, "Well, what would you do if you retired right now?" And I was like, for someone who thinks about this all day, I really don't have a great answer to that question. But my immediate like reaction was I'd probably do like an Ironman because
Yeah.
like training for an Ironman is like genuinely a full-time job. Like people
Full
who
time.
train for Ironmans are training 20, 30, 40 hours a week for those. And then you've got to recover from that training too. So it's like it's really intense to do an Ironman because you're swimming 2 miles, you're running a I think it's biking 100 and oh somebody I'm totally gonna get flamed in the comments for this, but it's I think 113 miles, and then you run a marathon
You run a
at the
marathon,
end.
yeah.
Like
And they have the mini ones.
mhm.
Um, there's always been a weird thing that's like kind of fascinating with me, but the reason I'll never do it is the swimming. I'm a hard pass. I don't want to swim a mile. I don't want to swim 2 miles. I will sink like a stone. Even though I can swim, that part to me seems the hardest. And some people are like the marathon seems like the hardest, right? But I've always ran, and I'm like, okay, I can ride a bike, I can run, meaning like not that I could just do it right now, but I could see myself training for that. But the swimming part, like the guys that go out in the ocean and swim 2 miles, I'm like, forget it. I'm out. Like, I'm not doing it.
I'll tell you a funny story. So I can't do the water. I am the most cold-blooded person ever. I for my senior year in high school, we went to Cancun on
Yeah.
vacation and we did like scuba diving. I never scubaed before. It was one
Yeah.
of those where like they do like the kind of the mini training session in the morning and then you go out and scuba in the afternoon. It's like 90 degrees in like April in Cancun, and I had to wear a full wetsuit because I was too cold in the water.
You're you're kidding me.
I'm not kidding at all. I couldn't do it. I was too cold. I had to wear a wetsuit.
No way. So that means you can never cold plunge or anything like that.
Oh no, man! You could tell me, and I'm sure I'll have this debate with James someday. If a cold plunge was going to make me live 10 more years, if and I had to do one every morning, I wouldn't do it. There's no way.
Wow.
I
What?
hate the cold. If I could live somewhere where it was 90 degrees year round, I would happily do that.
Okay. All right. So you and your wife Hannah, are you guys travelers?
We like to travel. We haven't had a whole lot of opportunity to travel in the
Yeah.
last few years. We've kind of done a little bit of like domestic traveling, but we definitely have some like big plans for the future with travel. I think the next big spot that we want to go to is Greece. I think that's
Great.
pretty high up on both of our bucket lists.
Love that. eh, well, okay. I know this is hard because you live in Kansas, but would you consider yourself like do you gravitate to more towards the beach, the mountains, city?
I like the mountains personally. If I had
Yeah.
to pick anything, to be totally honest, um, Kansas makes you appreciate everything. To be totally honest, like especially when you get out to like central Kansas, out in like kind of the Flint Hills, it's really really beautiful out there. But it's
Yeah.
beautiful in kind of like a I want to be sitting in my car. It's kind of harsh outside kind of way. But you go to
Yeah.
like the beach, you go to the mountains, you go to the city, and like each of those is kind of fun and unique. Kansas City has a ton to offer, but it is it's a flat land. There's not a whole
Yeah.
lot going on in terms of outdoorsy stuff to
Yeah.
go on out
I
here.
get that. Okay. I like this question. If like if you were to do a TED talk on a niche passion, what could you go off on? Now, because I could also reframe it like if Rude had a talent show, what would it be? Now you
Mm,
can't. We already talked about geoguessing. I know that's like incredible, but do you have something else?
what would my niche be?
I mean, geoguessing is pretty niche.
I think geography would definitely be one of those. Man, there's so many potential things like weird music. I would
Weird
say
music?
would be my thing. Like really
Yeah.
obscure niche music would be
Like what types?
like I really lately it's been like alternative hip hop. So
Okay.
like obscure weird sub like variations of like hip hop. This one always gets people. I really love metal, like really really heavy intense metal. Um I feel
You
like
know
I
the
could turn
genre of
anybody
metal?
into a metalhead potentially, like but it takes some time. Like you got to start slow and then work your way up. Um that always gets people cuz I don't look or act the part, but I really enjoy metal.
No, I know metalheads that like completely don't look like metalheads. But what I've known is like my buddy who's in a band and he's into metal. Um, all the subcategories of it, like death metal, heavy metal, grunge metal, all these things. So I'm like, do you know which one you style you like, or do you like it all?
I do like it all, but my favorite is doom metal.
Doom metal, bro. It's funny. You're probably listening to the same stuff my buddy listens to, and he's a drummer. So
Mhm,
like, what one thing he loves about it is how technical it is. To me, it sounds like wild amounts of noise and screaming, which is funny. I mean, look, I can't call people. I grew up on punk, so like I love punk rock music,
mhm,
which people that hate. But like he's like, no, Jay, from a drumming standpoint, it's like the most technical work you can imagine.
mhm.
So I appreciate that. I respect it. I was like, Wes, I'm not going to listen to this music, but I respect your passion for it. Okay.
Yeah,
But anytime we go on a road trip with him, like we used to go snowboarding in the mountains and we'd have to listen to like death metal the whole way. I'm like, here we go.
gotta get
All right.
fired up. Gotta
Okay.
shred.
All right. So let's finish with a rapid fire.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Early bird or night owl?
Early bird.
What time do you wake up?
6 most days, sometimes earlier, maybe like 5:30,
What time do you go to bed?
9:30
9:30?
typically. Yeah.
Holy smokes.
My we went out to like a theater in the park type thing a few days ago and we were out till midnight and I was like half asleep before we even got home.
Oh my God. You're too young for this. That's incredible. 9:30. I'm just like starting to decompress. Okay. Podcast or playlist? So would you rather listen to music or would you rather listen to a podcast?
Man, I hate that the answer is it depends, but it totally depends on what I'm doing. If I'm in the gym, like lifting weights, like I'm listening to a playlist. If I'm
Yes,
cooking, I'm almost always listening to some sort of podcast.
I agree. I do the same because I can actually listen.
Mhm.
Can you, speaking of podcasts, I know a lot of people that can like work and listen to podcasts. I can't do that. I can't
No,
hear anything.
no.
Like I just don't retain it.
No, not
Are you
at
the
all.
same?
Yeah,
Okay.
and the thing is like even when I'm like Hannah, my wife will talk to me like while I'm playing a podcast, and I have to pause it, even if they're like riffing and they're
Yeah.
not talking about anything. Like I need to know everything they've said. Like it'll drive me
Yes.
like I can't just like jump back in
For sure.
after not listening for 15 seconds. I have to be able to hear. So I can't. I typically don't listen to a lot of music when I work either,
Yeah.
just because I can't focus fully on one or the other. I've got to like
I
be
can't either.
locked in on one thing.
Yeah, if I'm in full concentration, I can't hear words. So whether it's singing or podcast, it just distracts me. Okay. Favorite vacation spot?
Colorado, probably.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I yeah, you're a mountain guy. Colorado would be amazing. I want to do so much more in Colorado. Do you have a spot, a reco spot in Colorado?
My favorite place that I've been so far has actually been Leadville, which I believe
Yeah.
is the highest city in the US, if I'm not mistaken. But you have access, there's a number of 14ers there. If you ever wanted to climb a 14er, they have a really cool couple of lakes that are there. The town is
Really?
really neat.
Okay.
And it's a lot more, it's a fun place to go during the summer. I have yet to go out to Colorado during ski season,
Yeah.
mostly because skiing is quite expensive, and you can go on a Colorado vacation in the summer for not even remotely the same amount as a ski vacation costs. So I think Leadville is a really cool place to go in the summer and kind of that general area. We went out to Salida, Colorado as well on a
Oh.
vacation once and loved it. Um,
Okay.
yeah,
That's a good pro tip. All right. I've never heard of that town. All right. Um, one word your friends would use to describe you.
adaptable.
Adaptable. That's a great that's a great trait. That is a great trait. I talk about a lot about that with when I coach.
Mhm,
It's hot. The field's not good. Whatever is happening, right? You're not feeling good. What do we do? Adapt. So
mhm.
adaptability is a big one.
Yep.
I love that. Okay. And then you actually mentioned this, but retirement dream.
Yeah, so doing something like a triathlon, I think
Yeah.
would be really cool. I really want to be able to be a snowbird, to be totally honest. Because
Yes.
my wife teaches, I tried to talk her into getting a remote job at once and that it didn't work out. But I would love to be able to spend the winters in like the Caribbean somewhere for like
Yes.
a month or two because I can't stand the cold. I can't do it.
I feel you. Um, that would be incredible. I want to do that too. I want to seasonally live. If money wasn't an issue, I would do quarterly. Like I'd want a place at the beach, the mountains, um, even like a cool like I have a weird attraction like New York City. There's just something about it. It would be cool to live there. Not full time, but just to be connected to that energy,
Yeah.
for a little bit.
Yeah. Total.
But
I mean, absolutely. Like you've got like some of the best restaurants in the world, some of the best culture in the entire world that's just like at
yeah.
your fingertips. Like, yeah, for sure. I would want to spend some time in New York City for sure.
All right, you heard it here, Caleb Varing. Caleb, I appreciate you. I always enjoy our conversations. I know that we don't get to have a ton because we're virtual, but you are the man, and I would say that clients are lucky to have you because of the depth and breadth you go into and the care. And I love your coaching aspect part of it, and that you want people to feel involved and sometimes even over communicate. I love that. So I am excited to see your future, and I just want to say thank you so much for taking this time and sharing all this with everybody.
Yeah,
Appreciate you, my friend.
it's been a pleasure, Jay. Happy to be here. I'm excited to meet some of those clients in the future that I'm going to be working with too.
Absolutely. All right, man. Take care.
You too.